In the summer of 2025, Iran's clerical establishment shocked the world by publicly offering a $40 million bounty for the assassination of former U.S. President Donald Trump. This was not a hidden threat, but a brazen, religiously framed call to violence broadcast globally and crowdfunded to staggering levels. The move escalated decades of animosity between Iran and the U.S., transforming a geopolitical feud into a personal vendetta with global consequences. Security agencies worldwide scrambled to assess the credibility of the threat, as the bounty became a tangible incentive for violence. To understand how the world reached this dangerous point, we must trace the chain of military strikes, religious decrees, and deep-seated rivalries that set the stage. The roots of the bounty trace back to June 2025, when Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, precision airstrikes targeting Iran's nuclear program. The U.S. soon joined, striking 3 Iranian nuclear facilities, claiming it was necessary to prevent nuclear proliferation. For Iran, these attacks were acts of war and national humiliation, sparking outrage among both political and religious leaders. Supreme Leader Khamenei and top officials vowed severe retaliation, framing the strikes as U.S. state terrorism. Amid this fury, Iran's clerics shifted the conflict from state to personal, targeting Trump and Netanyahu as the architects of aggression. The June strikes were the spark that ignited the clerics' call for vengeance and the unprecedented bounty. At the heart of the bounty's influence was the issuance of fatwas, formal religious edicts, by at least 10 of Iran's most senior clerics. These were not just ordinary statements, they carried the weight of centuries-old religious authority, and their words could move millions. In Iran, fatwas are more than legal opinions. They are seen as divine guidance, shaping the beliefs and actions of the faithful. The cleric's decision to issue these fatwas marked a turning point, transforming a political dispute into a matter of religious obligation. These fatwas went far beyond mere condemnation. They declared that killing Trump and Netanyahu was not only allowed, but a sacred duty for believers, casting the two leaders as muharib, or enemies of God, a charge that carries the gravest consequences in Islamic law. By invoking this term, the clerics framed the conflict as a cosmic struggle between good and evil, elevating it above politics. Ayatollah Nazir Makarem Shirazi, one of Iran's most influential religious figures, did not mince words. He publicly called for the execution of Trump and Netanyahu, providing detailed theological arguments to justify such violence. His statements were broadcast widely, lending the campaign a sense of religious legitimacy that resonated far beyond Iran's borders. What made these fatwas especially potent was their ability to bypass official state channels. Instead of relying on government institutions, the clerics spoke directly to the global community of believers. Their words were shared in mosques, on social media, and through underground networks, turning a political grievance into a sacred mission for anyone who heard the call. By explicitly removing religious prohibitions against assassination, the clerics gave the bounty a powerful spiritual legitimacy. This move extended the reach of the campaign, inspiring not just Iranians but sympathizers worldwide who saw themselves as part of a larger religious struggle. The fusion of faith and politics made the threat more credible and far harder to contain. Governments around the world took notice, as the lines between religious fervor and political violence blurred in dangerous new ways. In the end, the fatwa became the ideological backbone of the campaign, mobilizing individuals who might otherwise never have considered such actions and ensuring the message would echo across borders and generations. The campaign was led by Iran's most influential Shiite clerics, including Grand Ayatollahs Nazir Makarem Shirazi and Hossein Nouri Hamadani. Their rulings, followed by millions, gave the bounty immense authority and legitimacy within Iran's religious hierarchy. The Qom Seminary, the intellectual heart of Iran's theocracy, publicly endorsed the death edicts, signaling institutional support. State-affiliated media amplified the message, ensuring it reached a global audience. This was not fringe rhetoric. It was a coordinated, officially sanctioned campaign of incitement. The clerics' unified front demonstrated the willingness of Iran's religious establishment to use its power to call for violence on the world stage. Turning edict into action, a sophisticated crowdfunding campaign was launched on July 2, 2025, via the website thar.r. Arabic for revenge. Created by the Blood Covenant organization and run by Hossein Abassifar, a former state media employee, the site openly solicited donations to fund Trump's assassination. The site's imagery was explicit: Trump in crosshairs, Quranic verses, and calls for vengeance. The campaign claimed to raise over $40 million, projecting an image of widespread support, though the figure remains unverified. The use of crowdfunding allowed for anonymity and global participation, making supporters feel complicit in the mission. This digital approach bypassed traditional financial systems, blending ancient vendetta with modern technology to incite terrorism. The campaign's scale and professionalism suggested state-level backing, not just grassroots anger. The world reacted with swift and unified condemnation, as governments and international organizations denounced the bounty as a flagrant violation of international norms and human rights. The announcement sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles, with leaders from across the globe expressing outrage and concern over the dangerous precedent being set. Many described the move as a direct incitement to terrorism, warning that it could embolden extremist actors worldwide. The U.S. State Department, in particular, vowed to hold those responsible accountable, emphasizing that such actions would not go unanswered by the international community. Watchdog groups and human rights organizations quickly mobilized, demanding immediate sanctions against the clerics and campaign organizers behind the bounty. Public demonstrations erupted in several cities, with activists calling for a strong and coordinated response. Pressure mounted to designate figures like Ayatollah Shirazi and Hossein Abassifar as global terrorists, a move that would carry significant legal and financial consequences. Advocates pushed for the freezing of their assets, the blocking of their financial networks, and the isolation of those involved from the global banking system. Some officials even urged the closure of Iran's interest section in Washington, a rare diplomatic channel that has long served as a bridge between the two countries, as a severe rebuke and a signal of zero tolerance for such provocations. Western nations recognize the dangerous precedent being set. If a state-backed group can openly target a former leader, then the safety of public figures everywhere is called into question. The bounty threatened not just one individual, but the very fabric of international law and the principle of sovereign immunity. It sent a chilling message to leaders and diplomats worldwide. The entire system of international order and security now seemed at risk. As the world watched closely, the question remained: would these strong words be matched by decisive action, or would the threat go unchallenged? The Trump bounty echoed the infamous 1989 fatwa against author Salman Rushdie, which forced him into hiding for years and inspired violence worldwide. The Rushdie affair proved such threats are enduring and deadly. Decades later, Rushdie was attacked in New York by a sympathizer. Fatwas can inspire lone wolves and groups, embedding the call to violence for generations. Security officials saw the Trump bounty as a chilling repeat, understanding the threat lingers and evolves over time. The campaign's global reach, like the Rushdie fatwa, aimed to mobilize sympathizers far beyond Iran. The lesson: a fatwa-backed bounty is not empty rhetoric, but a weapon of incitement with real lasting consequences. The world's alarm was justified. History had already shown the deadly potential of such decrees. The campaign's most alarming feature was its explicit call to action for sympathizers in the West. The fatwas and website urged every cell of the resistance to act, targeting not just the Middle East but Western youth and disaffected individuals. By framing assassination as heroic resistance, the campaign sought to radicalize and recruit globally, using modern tools to reach a tech-savvy audience. This strategy posed a nightmare for security agencies, as lone actors radicalized online are nearly impossible to detect. The $40 million bounty combined ideological fervor with financial incentive, normalizing violence in extremist circles. The campaign weaponized the openness of Western societies, turning every community into a potential frontline. It was a textbook case of transnational terrorism promotion in the digital age. The $40 million bounty on Trump is more than a threat to one man. It's a seismic event that reverberates far beyond the borders of the United States. This act signals a dangerous shift in the way international disputes are handled, moving from the negotiating table to the crosshairs. It's a destabilizing blow to global security, shaking the very foundations of international order and trust between nations. It sets a precedent, one that could embolden other states or non-state actors to use violence as a tool of foreign policy rather than dialogue or diplomacy. If state-backed clerics can openly target former leaders, it blurs the line between political disagreement and sanctioned murder, making every high-profile figure a potential target. The rules of diplomacy are replaced by assassination. The public, well-funded nature of the bounty increases the risk of attacks by both organized groups and lone individuals, incentivizing violence on a global scale. This forces nations to divert vast resources to constant protection, stretching security services thin and creating an atmosphere of perpetual fear and suspicion. The threat erodes democratic norms, making public service a life sentence under threat and discouraging talented individuals from seeking office. Any attempt on Trump's life could trigger massive military escalation, drawing in allies and adversaries alike, and potentially igniting a conflict that spirals out of control. The risk of regional war and global chaos becomes all too real, as nations scramble to respond to an act that could be seen as an attack on sovereignty itself. The controversy is a stark warning of how religious extremism, state power, and modern technology can combine to incite violence worldwide, making it easier than ever to spread hate and coordinate attacks. In this new era, threats are not just physical, they are digital, ideological, and borderless, challenging the very concept of national security. The world faces a critical test. Will nations stand together to defend the principles of law and diplomacy, or will they allow fear and violence to dictate the future? The choice is clear. Unite against this new form of incitement, reaffirming a commitment to peace and justice, or risk a future where the assassin's rule replaces international law and no leader anywhere is truly safe.